The Checkpoint is presented by GM Pharma, the first international multinational pharmaceutical company in Georgia. GM Pharma, to serve those who need it most.
Personal changes in the government continued this week as well. Inga Paladze was appointed Deputy Minister of Economy and will oversee the energy sector. Ekaterina Sisauri became the Director of the Oil and Gas Corporation, while the Minister of Economy and Sustainable Development, Mariam Kurivishvili, nominated Ivane Abashidze as the Director of the Maritime Transport Agency. According to our information, reshuffles are expected to continue throughout the summer. Georgia's newly appointed Ambassador Extraordinary and Plenipotentiary Tamar Taliashvili presented her credentials to US President Donald Trump at the White House. During the ceremony, Trump wished the ambassador success in her new role. It's still unclear whether the president recalled his previous visit to Georgia, though there is certainly a lot to remember. Meanwhile, we await to see whom the Trump administration will nominate as the next US ambassador to Georgia. The Executive Board of the International Monetary Fund has improved and updated assessment of Georgia based largely on evaluations published by the IMF mission on June the 4th. The fund projects that Georgia will maintain high economic growth this year, with GDP expected to increase by 7.2%. According to the National Bank of Georgia, currency purchases in June totaled $266 million. Foreign exchange reserves increased by $107 million during the month. The largest purchase of the year so far, $266.4 million, occurred in April. In June, bank lending grew by 1.57 billion Georgian lari, representing a 2% increase, excluding exchange rate effects. According to newly published data, deposits in Georgian banks rose by 1.85 billion Georgian lari in June. As a result, the total deposits portfolio reached 60 billion 770 million Georgian lari. New economic indicators for Georgia shows that in June, electricity generation fell by 11% year-on-year results. Hydropower output alone declined by 12% compared to June 2024. Power generation for the first 6 months of the year also decreased. According to TBC Capital, generation in January-May dropped by nearly 10%. Commercial banks have submitted their financial results for the first half of 2025 to the National Bank of Georgia. The total net profit of the 19 commercial banks amounted to 1.55 billion, 91 million, or 6% higher than the same period last year. Of the 19 banks, 15 operated at a profit between January and June, while 4 posted losses. On July 25, 2025, American Express announced it is ready to open its payment network to all Georgian banks. The company intends to partner with those banks interested in issuing and acquiring cards within the American Express global network in Georgia. The European Bank for Reconstruction and Development has allocated a $65 million loan to Rustavi Azoti, Georgia's largest chemical plant. According to the EBRD, the funds will be used to construct a modern ammonium nitrate production facility and to improve energy efficiency at the existing plant, reducing environmental impact. Georgian diorite mined in Hulo municipality Ajara will be exported and represented internationally by Collier MMS. Diorite is a valuable decorative and construction stone known for its durability, density, and low radiation levels.
This is The Checkpoints. I'm Elena Guangelashvili, author and the host of the show, and the Checkpoints team is ready to sum up business and economics week for you. Maggie Osdoby Katz, a former U.S. diplomat who had long lived and worked in Tbilisi as a political and civic consultant, said she was denied entry to Georgia. No questions asked, no reason given, Katz wrote in a July 12 Facebook post, saying border authorities told her to leave and checked other on a form. Katz is currently in the process of clarifying the situation together with her lawyer. We will hear more details from our interview with Maggie Osdoby Katz.
First of all, please tell us what happened.
Elena, thank you so much for the opportunity to tell my story to the community. I really do appreciate it. And I was coming to Georgia as I did last year, to help the OSCE, the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe, where I used to work full-time as an official, to run a simulation of an OSCE decision-making process with 25 young leaders from the South Caucasus and Central Asia. I decided, since I've been living in the US for the last year and a half, recovering from cancer and taking care of my parents, to take the opportunity to come 10 days early to both see my goddaughter, who's Georgian, before she leaves for university, and to host some friends who are coming to Georgia from Europe, actually this weekend, still. And so I was really excited for the opportunity. And so I left from Vienna because I was doing some work with the OSCE before coming to deliver the conference. And I was I landed on the 510 Turkish airline flight on Saturday morning. I was one of the first people off the plane because they kindly had upgraded me on that flight. And so I just approached the border desk, as I always do, and handed over my American passport. I said, Gomer Zurbat, and big smile, because I was so excited to be back in Georgia. And she lifted up the camera and took a photo, and then she told me, you need to step to the side. And so I stood over the empty half of the border guard desk for a while. I thought maybe there was a system problem. And then, so about 10 minutes of standing there, I asked her, is there something I can help with? And she said, no, the system says you need to step aside. And then a couple minutes later, another border guard came and escorted me over to where the office is. And she said, you need to go sit back there, like behind, like facing the border desks, but there's some seats on the far side. And I sat there, and about 50 minutes to an hour after I had approached the border desk, two border guards approached me, handed me a piece of paper, and said, we're very sorry, but we're denying your entry into Georgia. You will have to come with us. We're going to detain you until you are able to get on to the next flight back out of the country.
How long have you been detained, Maggie?
So I was held until the 11 a.m. flight, which was as I learned, when you're being denied entry and escorted back, you have to be the first person on the flight and the last person off the flight. So they escorted me from the holding area at around 10:30. So probably around 4.5 hours. And I will say, when they walked me into the holding area and they walked me into the room they were holding me in, I must have been in shock, because I said, I turned to the gentleman and I said, don't you have a room with windows in Georgian? And they looked at me like I was crazy. So, but they were very nice. They allowed me, before they confiscated my phone, after they showed me where I was going to stay for 4.5 hours, they allowed me to call my friend who I was staying with in Georgia, and as well as my 83-year-old father back in America, who I had told when I was sitting waiting for border guards to come to me, I told him I was being held at the border. So he would have been very, very anxious if he hadn't have heard from me. So it was very kind. And I will say everybody was very truly Georgian when I was there, checked in on me, was so nice to me, let me practice my Georgian a little bit. But unfortunately, that was all my entire experience in Tbilisi.
And they didn't explain anything to you?
No, when the two border guards approached me with the piece of paper, and they handed it to me, and I asked them, is there a reason? Because I was not asked any questions. I was not talked to at all. They said, we don't know. We were just handed this. And I looked at the paper and I said, it says other cases as envisioned by the Georgian government, I believe is what it says. And they said, we don't know. You'll have to, they said, you have 10 days to appeal. Perhaps you'll find out then. I've since then, no further explanation either.
Yes. Did you send a letter or apply for more explanation?
So the Ministry of Internal Affairs is in charge of the border. We've actually done, when I was at OSCE, we actually did work with border guards as well. But we are in the process. I'm working with my Georgian lawyers to put together an appeal since we have 10 days. And since I'm in Vienna, I also had to get things like power of attorneys notarized and apostolized here, and then get that to Georgia, which all takes time. So we're in that process there. I have also talked to the US Embassy and the OSCE, and I believe that they have made some inquiries, but I have no further information. I still all I know is other, and everybody's speculation. So I look forward to learning the reason why I was denied entry, as someone who has been coming to and contributing to and supporting Georgia for 27 years. It's my second home. It's my heart home, as I said on my Facebook post, and it is a part of me, and it is who I am. It has been shaped by my experiences with my Georgian friends and the mountains, and all of the amazing, inspiring people and ideas and things that happen in Georgia. This is not one of the amazing things that happened to me in Georgia, but it is part of my story now. So
yeah, I don't want you to speculate too hard, since you do not have like the direct answers, but any thoughts what might have happened?
I would leave that to others to speculate, just because it surprised everyone, right? So I don't know. I can share that I have had a very rich and diverse experience in Georgia. You know, I came in 1998 and had the privilege of having a fellowship and working on the committee in the parliament on economic reforms. And I was so beautifully hosted by all my friends there, and just got to discover the mountains and the castles and the history and the food, go to weddings and see them suddenly seeing Hava Nagila at a wedding, which was surprising to someone who grew up in Jewish communities. But I decided to stay because I thought it was such a dynamic, fascinating place. And I was only a year out of university, and I wanted to learn and be part of what was happening. So I had the privilege of working at the American Embassy for 2 years, as an administrator, and then as a political economic officer, and worked with everyone from the government to civil society to young people and universities, and just wanted to stay and contribute, and went back to the US to learn more, to go to graduate school. And then I did my graduate research in Georgia, and on Georgian migrants in Moscow, and the role of religion in building the new Georgian state after the Rose Revolution. So, and then, I've been part of election monitoring missions, when I moved back there in 2015 for 2 years to Tbilisi, because I felt the absence in my heart. And I really wanted to go home after I left the State Department. I had this amazing welcome back into the community and got to be part of helping build the startup ecosystem that's there today with Gov't and Impact Hub and Generator 9.8. And I got to be part of help people who wanted to make Tbilisi better, make it more walkable, make it more green, and work with the government, the city government, to do that. And I was one of 2 non-Georgians who were part of that community, and which is a great honor to be invited in and to work side by side with them. And it was inspiring, and many of them are still very close friends as well. And I worked with international organizations and local Georgian civil society organizations to help them be stronger organizations and to be able to deliver more on what their vision was. And then when I came back in 2023, after I left OSCE and lived there, I again got to be part of the community. And actually, Georgia gave me this great gift in which one of the doctors found my thyroid cancer when my sister was diagnosed with breast cancer. And if I had been in Austria, I would not have discovered it because they wouldn't have looked. So Georgia has given me so much and so many opportunities to explore and learn and to be inspired. So I don't know why.
Even more surprising, yes.
Yeah, yes.
By the way, did you hear from any of those people that you mentioned in different circles? I mean, calling you, asking you what's going on?
Yes. I have heard from them, and I know many people on Saturday did outreach on my behalf without me even knowing, to different officials in different places. So I've been really overwhelmed and so grateful for all of the not just the support, but the genuine love particularly from my Georgian friends. And yeah, so there are some of them, and some of those people I've worked with have agreed to write a letter of reference for my appeal, the appeal package I will be submitting next week once we get all the documents together. And I'm so grateful that to the lawyers who are willing to help me with this. And I have every confidence that they will do everything in their power to make it the best case on my behalf.
Yeah, but do you believe in Georgian courts?
I was part of helping build the reform. Also in America, we all know you all hope for the best and want to see things move forward. So I have found that if I believe in the best possible outcomes in Georgia, they often happen. But it also the first appeal actually goes to the Ministry of Internal Affairs.
So what is your expectation? Do you think this case might stop at,
I hope so. I hope it was perhaps a technical error that happened. In Judaism, when we celebrate Passover, at the end we say next year in Jerusalem, and so may it be next week in Tbilisi.
Since the implementation of the visa-free travel regime between Georgia and the European Union in March 2017, remittances from EU countries to Georgia have more than tripled, highlighting the economic significance of the policy. According to the latest data, Georgian citizens received over 764 million in remittances from EU countries in the first half of 2025 alone. This continues a steady upward trend that began in 2017 2018, the year visa-free travel to the Schengen area was introduced for Georgian passport holders. In 2017, the volume of remittances from the EU stood at $414 million. By 2024, that number had soared to $1.4 billion, marking a 238% increase over 7 years. The EU share of total remittances has also risen from 30% in 2017 to 43% in 2024, underlining the growing role of the bloc in Georgia's remittance landscape. The International Monetary Fund has emphasized the need to strengthen the governance and financial independence of the National Bank of Georgia, calling for legal amendments to restrict its ability to make discretionary financial transfers to the government. The recommendation was outlined in the summary document released following the IMF's Article 4 consultation with the Georgian authorities. The document reinforces key messages delivered during the IMF mission's June 4 visit and maintains its 2025 economic growth forecast for Georgia at 7.2%. According to the IMF, improving the NBG's institutional independence remains a critical priority. While some progress has been made, such as appointing a new governor and filling vacant board seats, the fund notes that important reforms remain pending. Reforms should ensure a non-executive board majority, limit discretionary financial transfers to the government, further clarify succession rules for the governor, and strengthen board member qualifications. Adopting a collegial decision-making model would further enhance governance, the IMF stated. The IMF also supports a shift from a presidential decision-making structure to a collegial model under which the board of the National Bank collectively decides on policy issues. At the center of the IMF's concern is the NBG's current ability to decide independently how much of its annual profit is transferred to the central government. For example, in 2023, the NBG recorded a profit of 559 million lari, of which 303 million lari was transferred to the state budget. In 2024, the bank's net profit rose to 1.1 billion lari, with 670 million lari allocated to the budget and 434 million lari directed to reserves. While these transfers are legally permitted and follow existing procedures, the IMF highlights a broader risk. Current legislation allows for the possibility of discretionary transfers beyond profit sharing, including the potential for direct financial support to the government under the guise of operational expenses. Though the NBG is legally prohibited from lending directly to the government, it is not explicitly barred from providing funds via other mechanisms. The IMF stresses that such discretion, even if not currently misused, poses long-term risks to the central bank's independence and credibility. The fund has therefore recommended that Georgian legislation be amended to clearly prohibit all forms of discretionary financial transfers to the government, not just direct lending. The National Bank has not made any financial transfers to the government. This is how the National Bank of Georgia responded to the questions from BMG regarding the recent recommendation issued by the International Monetary Fund. As the National Bank has explained to BMG, the IMF's recommendation aims to eliminate even the possibility of such discretionary transfers in order to strengthen the bank's financial independence and transparency. Analysts suggest that this step reflects broader concerns regarding the independence of the NBG and aims to mitigate potential risks. Additionally, the NBG noted that, according to their information, work is already underway to develop legislative amendments that would implement the IMF's recommendation. However, the bank itself does not have the authority to initiate such legal changes. That responsibility lies within the parliament or the government. Let's check on Georgia's economy this week.
In January-June 2025, the external merchandise trade of Georgia amounted to $11,934,000,000 USD, 12.8% higher year-on-year, according to the preliminary data from the National Statistics Office of Georgia. The exports equaled $3,234,000,000 USD, while the imports stood at $8,699,000,000 USD. The negative trade balance was $5,464 million in January-June 2025, and each share in external trade turnover constituted 45.8%. In January-June 2025, the share of top 10 trading partners by exports in total exports of Georgia amounted to 79.8%. The top partners were Kyrgyzstan with $681 million, Kazakhstan with $414 million, and Azerbaijan with $341 million. Tbilisi Mayor Kakakaladze says Georgia's key objective should be sustained economic growth and convergence with European economies. Our goal is to catch up and even surpass European economies, Kaladze said, emphasizing that the government's current policy led by Georgian Dream Party is focused on maintaining peace, an essential foundation for economic progress. Addressing the issue of migration, Kaladze noted that economic factors remain in the primary motivator. We must create such conditions in the country that people only live for vocation, not in search of work. He stated everyone should be able to find decent jobs and experience economic well-being here at home. The mayor acknowledged that while Georgia's economy has advanced in recent years, more progress is needed. Am I satisfied? Of course not. I am maximalist. I want to see greater developments and prosperity for every family, Kaladze added. Irakli Kobakhidze claims that visa liberalization is a technical issue and has no connection to economic growth. Kobakhidze noted that the notion that visa-free travel boosts the economy is pure speculation. The only difference is whether you stand in a visa queue or not. Visa liberalization has nothing to do with the economy. An expert will confirm that, he said. Kobakhidze also urged that visa-free access encourages migration, referencing the Baltic states. Lithuania's population dropped by 600,000 and Latvia's by 400,000. Without visa liberalization, more Georgians would be stayed, boosting the labor force and economic growth. Notably, in 2017, while serving as Speaker of Parliament, Kobakhidze praised visa liberalization as a key achievement in Georgia's EU integration process. Since the implementation of visa-free travel regime between Georgia and European Union in March 2017, remittances from EU countries to Georgia have more than tripled, highlighting the economic significance of the policy. According to the latest data, Georgian citizens received over $764 million in remittances from EU countries in the first half of 2025 alone. This continues a steady upward trend that began in 2017, the year visa-free travel to Schengen area was introduced for Georgian passport holders. In 2017, the volume of remittances from the EU stood at $414 million. By 2024, the number had soared to $1.4 billion, marking a 238% increase over 7 years. The EU's share of total remittances has also risen from 30% in 2017 to 43% in 2024, underlining the growing role of the bloc in Georgia's remittance landscape. In the first half of 2025, Georgia's airports served 3.65 million passengers, reflecting a 14% increase compared to the same period in 2024. Wizz Air maintained its lead in Georgian aviation market with an 80% market share and a 16% year-on-year growth, transporting 642,000 passengers. Pegasus Airlines ranked second with 284,000 passengers, marking an 8% market share and 8% annual growth. Georgian Airways came in the third, benefiting from resumed Russian flights. The airline increased its passenger count by 17%, reaching 272,000 travelers and capturing an 8% market share. Former long-term market leader Turkish Airlines dropped to fourth place with 268,000 passengers, a 6% decline year-on-year. In the fifth place, Azerbaijan Airlines transported 222,000 passengers, 50% up year-on-year. Notably, Ajet, a Turkish Airlines subsidiary, also carried 54,000 passengers, but its data is reported separately. In the first half of 2025, Georgia's electricity export revenues fell by 44%, totaling to $19.2 million for around 400 million kilowatt-hour of electricity. Turkey remained the main buyer, accounting for 83% or $60 million of total exports. Smaller volumes were sold to Azerbaijan and Armenia. In June alone, Georgia exported 189 million kilowatt-hour of electricity to Turkey and 37 million kilowatt-hour to Armenia, with Turkey paying $8.1 million. This continues a declining trend. In 2024, Georgia exported 1.5 billion kilowatt-hour, generating $49 million, a 48.6% revenue drop from the previous year.
In the first half of 2025, the National Bank of Georgia purchased $880 million in foreign exchange reserves through the BMatch platform as part of its ongoing efforts to bolster the country's macroeconomic stability. Despite these significant purchases, the total increase in reserves during this period amounted to $240 million, primarily due to external debt servicing, which would have otherwise caused the decline in the reserve volume. As of June 2025, Georgia's foreign exchange reserves stood at $4.7 billion, up from $4.45 billion in December 2024. According to the NBG, the largest single-month acquisition occurred in April with a net purchase of $266 million. In June alone, the bank purchased $266 million, though the net growth in reserves for that month was $107 million. NBG's 2025 foreign exchange interventions BMatch include no net purchases were made through BMatch in January, February, March, $101.7 million, April, $266.4 million, May, $145.4 million, June, $266 million. In its official statement, the National Bank reaffirmed its commitment to strengthening Georgia's foreign exchange buffer. International currency reserves are a crucial guarantor of the country's macroeconomic stability. NBG's statement reads, accordingly, the National Bank is always focused on replenishing reserves as reflecting in its stated policy when market conditions allow. The bank increases the country's international reserves. These proactive interventions are part of the NBG's broader strategy to maintain monetary stability, NBG says, manage external shocks, and preserve investor confidence in the Georgian economy. The Communications Commission of Georgia, COMCOM, has launched a comprehensive study aimed at strengthening the country's internet infrastructure. The initiative seeks to identify existing market barriers and develop solutions to enhance competition and service quality in the broadband sector. Key focus areas of this study include cooperation between internet operators, internet traffic exchange practices, accessibility of direct interconnection, challenges faced by operators, speed and quality of access to local cost and global content. To gain insights, experts from COMCOM conducted interviews with leading providers such as Makticom, Syncland, Ahalik, Celebi, Caucasus Online, and other small to medium operators. Why does IXPs matter? According to COMCOM, developing internet exchange points significantly boosts internet speed and reliability, especially for latency-sensitive services like online gaming, video conferencing and cloud applications. By reducing reliance on international transit roads, IXPs also lower costs for operators, freeing up resources for infrastructure development and innovation. ComCom notes that the study will provide a detailed market analysis, integrate international best practices, and lead to tailored policies that promote the growth of IXPs and IP peering. These efforts aim to improve overall internet quality, support a stronger local digital ecosystem, and elevate Georgia's technological standing in the region. The project is supported by Plum Consulting Paris, SAS, and the international firm specializing in communications and digital regulation. More on business this week from Natia Taktakishvili.
Lopota Lake Resort and Spa in Kakheti is preparing for a particularly busy September with a large share of dates already booked for business tourist events. According to Maggie, commercial director of the resort, demand is high for both the individual and MICE tourist segment. Speaking on BMG TV's Women's Narrative, Gliwashvili highlighted the growing importance of business tourists to the resort's operations. In the case of small business events, we typically host around 150 or 200 guests, she said. However, in September, we are expecting between 250 and 400 visitors for a single large-scale event. In addition to corporate bookings, individual reservations are also gaining strength, particularly around the vintage season, which traditionally drew strong interest. We host a vintage festival every September, which creates high demand for individual stays. Gliwashvili noted during this period, revenues from group bookings remain significant for the resort as well. That's why even in high season, we accommodate multi-day corporate groups, she added. Founded in 2008, Lopota Lake Resort and Spa has become a year-round destination for both international and domestic tourists. Following recent infrastructure expansions, the resort now boasts 310 hotel rooms and employs over 450 persons. Ketevan Chelidze, head of sales at Golden Tulip Design Tbilisi, has voiced concerns over the market participants in Georgia's hospitality sector, noting that many hotels operating under a 5-star status fail to meet international standards, while dumping prices continue to mislead competition. Speaking on BMG TV's Women's Narrative, Chelidze pointed out that an influx of new hotel brands has significantly intensified competition, making price sustainability a growing challenge. Competition has increased sharply in recent years. While it's exciting to see so many new names entering the market, it's also difficult to maintain prices when many 5-star hotels are offering low rates without delivering a true 5-star services or quality, Chelidze said. She explained that as a boutique hotel with 77 rooms, Golden Tulip faces similar operating costs like the larger properties, but lacks the opportunity to lower prices significantly. To stand out in an increasingly saturated market, Golden Tulip is investing heavily in digital marketing, with 2025 set to mark a shift in strategy. We have significantly increased our digital marketing budget for 2025. Our goal is to enhance visibility across European markets and bring in higher spending travelers, Chelidze said. The hotel is also collaborating with local tourist companies to host information tours, bringing international travel agents and partners to experience Georgian firsthand. We are working closely with partners to host tours and introduce Georgia to companies abroad that are interested in the region. This kind of firsthand experience is priceless in building long-term partnership. Located in the heart of Tbilisi, Golden Tulip Design Tbilisi is part of international Golden Tulip brand, known for combining local character with modern hospitality standards. Georgia is increasingly becoming a destination for professionally organized events, both business and professional, drawing attention from local and international clients alike. Eka Jalagonia, founder of the event venue Garden Hall, says demand has grown significantly along with expectations for high standards across every detail of event planning. Speaking to BMG TV, Jalagonia highlighted how consumers' behavior has changed in recent years. In the past, people mostly cared about the food. If the kitchen was good, the rest did not matter much, she explained. Now attention is paid to every single element, the plates, glasses, tableware, decor and everything. To meet rising demands, Garden Hall regularly refreshes its offerings. We even want to be the kind of venue that uses the same dishes for 10 years. We are constantly innovating. We understand that every guest comes with different expectation, and that's what drives quality, she said. One striking trend, according to Jalonia, is the increase in foreign clients organizing professional and private events in Georgia, ranging from diplomatic purposes to weddings. They work closely with embassies and frequently host foreign guests, she noted. We are very active in this space. I can't speak for other venues, but for us, this is growing area for our business. Wedding in particular have become a major part of Garden Hall's event calendar. Jalonia says multicultural celebrations are becoming especially popular. We now host a lot of weddings, both Georgian and international mixed cultures wedding are beautiful. Recently, we hosted a 2-day Georgian-Indian wedding, and it was absolutely stunning. When two cultures come together, the results can be magical. With the reputation for style, professionalism, and cultural sensitivity, Garden Hall is helping to position Georgia not only as a tourist destination, but also as a desirable location for world-class events. Khadia Darguashvili, founder of Anapea Village Tourist Complex in Kakheti, says that although the summer season began actively, currently events in Georgia have reduced expectations, particularly when it comes to Western tourists. In an interview with BMG TV's Women's Narrative, Darguashvili explained that while initial forecasts pointed to strong interest from European visitors, recent developments in the country have had a noticeable impact on international tourist flows. We had high expectations, especially from Western markets, but the political processes and general uncertainty in the country have directly affected both our workload and that of the wider tourist sector, said Darguashvili. Security is one of the top concerns for European tourists. When that sense of stability is shaken even slightly, it naturally leads to hesitation. She noted that while weekends still attract a lot of guests, weekday occupancy remains unpredictable. To address this imbalance, the Anapea Village team is actively developing a series of events and themed experiences in order to maintain a steady stream of guests throughout the week. Despite the challenges we are adapting, we are committed to moving forward and offering our guests the authentic experience that defines Anapea Village, she said. Located in the village of Tskhenishalo in Georgia's Kvareli district, Anapea Village began as a vineyard and wine production site. However, the concept quickly changed, and the complex has already become a notable destination for travelers seeking an authentic countryside retreat with a strong sense of history and tradition. The Georgian handmade bag and accessories brand Cosma is continuing its regional expansion with the operating of a new branch in Tel Aviv, its 10th location nationwide. As revealed by Sophie Mukhlishvili, co-founder of the company, to BMG TV's Women's Narrative, the decision to open in Tel Aviv was driven by strong demand from local customers. We are already present in 3 regions, 2 branches in Batumi and 1 in Gori. Tel Aviv will be our 4th regional location, and the decision was largely based on customer requests, Mukhlishvili said. The new facility, set to open within the next 3 months, will span 80 square meters and feature both a retail area and an open workshop. This interactive space will allow customers to take part in the crafting process by adding personal inscriptions. This concept is already successful in Cosmos, Tbilisi and Batumi locations. The Tel Aviv branch will offer a beautiful space with an open workshop experience, creating a unique and engaging environment for visitors. We have seen how well this model works in Batumi, and we are excited to bring it a new city, Mukhlishvili noted. Tel Aviv store will also support local employment with plans to hire around 8 staff members for the area. The investment for the new branch is expected to reach 500,000 lari, marking a significant milestone in the brand's growth. In addition to the Tel Aviv expansion, Cosmo is preparing to open a new workshop in Tbilisi within the next 2 months. The workshop will offer the full range of company's services and further enhance its production capacity. Founded 10 years ago, Cosmo has grown into a beloved Georgian brand known for its wide selection of handmade bags and accessories. With a portfolio that now includes over 150 products, the company currently operates 9 branches, including in Tbilisi, Batumi, and Gori, as well as actively sells the international markets. As Georgia's e-commerce sector grows, local platforms face increasing pressure from international giants like Temu and Alibaba. Speaking on Business Morning, Nini Chechanidze, head of consumer experience at Velistor, emphasized that Georgian companies cannot compete on price but can stand out through supporter customers' experience. Our advantage lies in local warranties, easy returns, and personalized services, Chechanidze noted. We aim to build long-term trust, not just make a sale. However, she pointed out systemic challenges, including tax exemption for foreign platforms. Parcels under 300 lari from abroad are custom-free, giving international sellers an unfair edge, while local businesses pay full taxes and shipping costs. Chechanidze called for fair regulations similar to those in EU and US and suggested government support through incentives and consumer awareness campaigns. In 2025, Georgia received 15.1 million international parcels worth 1.4 billion lari, which was a 2.7 times increase over 2023. Georgian food manufacturer Kula is investing €3 million to expand its organic production capacity following the acquisition of the hippie factory in Agara village earlier this year. CEO Vano Goglidze explained on TV program Business Morning that €1.5 million has already been invested and negotiations with Swiss suppliers for modern equipment are underway. The factory will be fully re-equipped by the end of 2025, with production potentially starting this year. It will meet full European standards. If we cannot start in 2025, operations will fully launch in 2026. Goglidze noted, despite challenges this year caused frost and high raw material prices, Goglidze hopes for a rebound in autumn. 85% of our apples goes to the European market. Diversification is crucial and we continue expanding globally, said Goglidze. Kula currently exports to 30 countries, with Europe accounting for nearly 50% of total exports. The company also sells products in USA, Asia, Israel, Korea, and former CIS nations.
And that's all for today. We'll meet next Sunday. Before that, you know what to do. Stay tuned to BMG. It's worth it.
The Checkpoint is presented by GM Pharma, the first international multinational pharmaceutical company in Georgia. GM Pharma, to serve those who need it most.